Alright, hello. My name is That One Berbora. I am going to be commentating the Nights into Dreams All Levels run. And I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for staff for letting me be on here. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what Lekyar has to, or Recoil, can do for this run. So he's going to start for Claris because it's just, you can start on Claris or Elliot's side. It does not matter which side or which level you start on. Never mind. Hold on. He's just getting hand warmers in. So the main objective of this game is basically you play as knights, and across 4 laps, you grab 20 of those blue spheres, or called blue chips, and after that you go to a bubble which contains a piece of Idia, and once you have 20, it destroys it, and then after that you head back to the palace or the starting point. And you just do that 4 times, and then after that you'll enter a boss fight. So that's the main point of this game. It's normally a score tag game, but I would say that over the course of time that everyone's been speedrunning it, that it's become such a phenomenal speedrun game. Another thing is that for all levels, we only had to do twin seeds once. And the reason for that is just due to the fact that both twin seeds for Elliot and Claris are the exact same level. There is no difference. So the community just kind of opted to cut it out to the point where you only had to do one. Alright, I think, yeah, he's gonna opt for going on Elliot's side, which is probably the safer option just due to the fact that, well, Elliot's side tends to have the harder bosses, so probably just wants to get that out of the way sooner. So that way the other half of the run is a little easier. But here we go. So first thing that Lekyar is going to do is he's going to do some lap manipulation. And Knights is on a sort of 2D plane, but by going in specific patterns, you can not only get certain blue chips to respawn throughout the course of the map, but you can also change the positioning of where Knights should be. Alright, this is looking to be a really good splash garden so far. Alright, so right there, you may notice that for some reason he decided to pair loop some blue chips as the lap ended. In this game, you can do so, and if you make it to the palace before they touch you, then you can carry it over into the next lap. And in doing so, you get to save a lot of time because you don't have to worry about, going throughout the map. So he saves a lot of time by doing so. So he'll enter this boss. And this is Puffy. So main goal here is to just try hit her across breakable walls all the way to the very end. Nothing fancy here, but Puffy's hitboxes are a little less than friendly. So it's definitely not one of the easier bosses to get a great time on. But look here, so 95. So that was a really good Buffy, actually. Ultimately a really good Splash Garden. Alright, so next here we have Frozen Bell. And one thing that Lekyard does, or Recoil in the sense, that he does, is that he will jump straight to Knights. And in quite a few of the levels, it's just a lot more optimal to go for that. Usually we tend to play as the kids first and grab any nearby blue chips, but they found out that in quite a lot of these mirrors, it's just a lot faster to abuse the fact that you can cause some blue chips to respawn and just play entirely as Knights for the most part. Alright, so right there, he was able to grab enough blue chips in order to make this go by a little faster for this mare, or lap. And in doing so, yeah, 10 seconds for this lap. Alright, so here's probably the first and only auto-scroller of the run. And here you basically go as a bobsled, and the controls are okay, but luckily you kind of get pointed in the direction of where the blue chips are, but you still have to wiggle your joystick a little, otherwise you're bound to miss a few. But it looks like he grabbed everything perfectly. Alright, so on to the next boss. This boss is Claws, and the main thing of this fight is that you have to destroy all the fireworks in order to reach Claws, but it seems like KR is going to opt for the fast kill. Pause buffers in order to grab it. Perfect. So the way that works is that you don't need to destroy all the fireworks. And the reason is that you can still grab Claws without having to touch any of the fireworks. Basically, you do a little bit of AI manipulation by forcing Claws to think that, well, you're diving, so therefore I must go away. But the issue is that Claws can only jump about 2 fireworks across, so by destroying those first 2, Claws only can go up, and therefore it made it so that way he could grab it. Alright, on to the next level. Stick Canyon, probably one of my favorites. Not a commonly liked level, but I would say it's probably one of the more entertaining in the run. Okay, he did not get that that respawn on the blue chip cluster earlier there, so that's gonna lose a little bit of time, but not too much. Okay, so on this part, basically Knights becomes a living magnet of the sorts, and due to this, you're just going to be able to grab every blue chip on the way that you see. So then there's 3 more right there, destroys the next idiot capture, and then after that the palace is right across. And this is probably considered the hardest lap in the whole game, arguably. So here you have to go up this sort of tower, and on the way of collecting blue chips, at the very top is the idiot capture, but you have to watch out for falling debris. It basically triggers every time that, you know, you make it past a little checkpoint, indicated by the little hazard sign. Okay, so pause buffering in order to try and avoid the spike ring still gets hit. That's fine, doesn't lose too much time, because you can still build up enough speed to go flying down here. Alright, very careful to avoid those boosters, really good. And there it goes. Assuming that you would go right on the tower, you would have to take an auto-scroller. So that's the reason why we always go down the tower. It's just so much faster. Alright, so here we have probably the most popular boss in the whole series, Riella. And main point of this boss is straight up, it's just paraloop 3 times, and that's basically the fight. Nothing to write home about here. Ultimately, really good Riella. 107. It's really clean. You know, Lekiar is doing or Recoil is doing a phenomenal job. Okay, so he is opting to go for Soft Museum. This is a little different from what I normally see in terms of a stage layout, but ultimately it's probably a really smart method, I would say. Tries to go for a trampoline skip, misses it, still gets the cutscene, but that's fine. So he's going to play as Claris for a little bit, due to the fact that there are 20 blue chips just lying around right next to the idiot capture. So this is easily one of the fastest methods to just do this. Just gonna hop over straight to Knights after this, and then after that we are going to enter the museum. And the sort of thing about this museum is if Knights touches the wall in almost any sorts, you will bounce straight up really slowly. So it's best to try and avoid it as much as possible, but it's a little tricky. So there we go, beautiful museum. Alright, so you may notice that green tile that he just picked up, and basically what that does is it's a meter refill, and it's pretty crucial in quite a bit of the levels. I wouldn't say it's very mandatory, except in this level. So it's ultimately a great pickup. Now, Lekiar is going to opt for probably one of the most difficult strats in the game, and that's by doing a giant paraloop in order to carry over some blue chips from different mares, and he gets it first try. Okay, so at the bottom there's about a cluster of 7 blue chips down there, and yeah, just by paralooping there, they'll spawn in, and he should have enough to finish this lap. No, he gets hit. So the enemies in this game, they're called Nightmarean, and each one does its own little unique thing. And that one right there coats itself with sort of electricity. Think of, what is it? You basically cannot hit it during that unless you paraloop it. Alright, so this boss right here is Jackal, and oh no! Oh, Jackal got the cape back. So, basically you want to knock the cape off of Jackal, but he is going to try and throw cards your way, and you cannot get through unless you maneuver around. And after you knock the cape off, it's about 5 hits total in order to fully beat Jackal. Throughout this, though, you basically want to play keep away. So, alright. A little rough on Jackal there, but ultimately he should be fine. I have to say, though, it was a really good soft museum. Alright, on to the next level. Here is Mystic Forest, and he's going to opt for jumping straight over to Knights. And if he lands perfectly, he should be able to skip over the get up animation. So there we go. And he's going to also try to basically break the game's flag of saying you're on this part of the lap. And by going backwards after grabbing those 3, then he can just respawn the cluster at the bottom and grab all 20. Alright, so at the top, there's an invisible cluster right here. So, and then after that, there's another 5 right there. It's highly mandatory that you grab those, otherwise you're just kind of left sitting there, wondering where to get any sort of other blue chip. So, right here, he's going to opt for carrying over 3 blue chips into the next lap, and by grabbing those 3, along with grabbing the cage, which has 8 blue chips, he can just grab the rest going backwards, and then after that, it's done with this lap. Also, one thing that I should have mentioned sooner, if you haven't noticed, the way that you build meter in this game is by flying through rings. So it's a little hard to try and maintain your speed while at the same time maintaining as much meter as possible. But in doing so, you can get some really phenomenal times, like right here. So ultimately, really good Mystic Force. And now we are on to the next boss of the run, which is Gulpo. And luckily, Gulpo has the most consistent strat. You fly up left, you fly down right, and then you just hold straight up, and you will get a 111 every single time. There is no ands, if, or buts. It's guaranteed 100%. So yeah, ultimately a really beautiful Mystic Force. Alright, on to the next level of the run, Spring Valley. So here, he's going to opt for going straight to Knights again. Sadly, the idiot capture is way too far for anything that Claris can do in order to try to grab it. So one thing that you'll see throughout the rest of the run is that Lekiar or Recoil basically opts for pressing the back triggers or the back buttons of their controller. And if you do so, depending on the direction that you're holding, Knights will do an acrobatic motion. And doing so can change your grab radius. And due to that, it's really helpful in grabbing certain clusters instead of having to worry about paralooping, because paralooping ends up ultimately being a little slower than just going straight through. Alright, opting in order to avoid the trick ribbon, and basically that yellow and blue ring is quite bad a lot of the time, for speedruns at least. It's really helpful in score attack, but here, believe it or not, especially in the PC version of the game, it causes a lot of lag on most CPUs and GPUs for some reason. Alright, and then they just go straight to the booster, and that is done with Spring Valley. So now we are on to probably one of the most infamous bosses, I guess. Gilwing, basically a giant dragon. He's going to opt for a quick kill version. There we go, perfect. So, point of this is to basically paraloop the tip of the tail, but this is one of the faster methods in order to do so. The fastest being 117, but this 116 is still a very consistent method developed by them. Alright, really great Spring Valley. So I would probably say that that was one of the best levels done so far. Alright, we're on to the last level of the run. This can be done with either Elliot or Claris, it does not matter. Gonna opt for Claris due to easier menuing. So here at the very beginning, you see Knights, but it's basically a ruse. No matter what, you just get launched off by the main antagonist of this game, Wiseman, onto this little platform here, and main thing to do afterwards is just jump off. But in doing so, you gain your courage in order to fly, and you are basically on a 3-minute timer throughout the whole level in order to complete it. In Mare 1 and Mare 2, though, basically there are only 20 blue chips exactly, and it makes it for quite a, I guess, precise part of the run. But at the same time, it seems almost as if the game rewards you more for going fast on this level. It's probably one of the most enjoyable parts, in my opinion, of the run. Easily my favorite level. So here he's going to opt to go backwards, avoids that in order to avoid the spike ring, and hits these balloons in order to grab enough blue chips. Is this going to be enough? No, he's short one. Oh. Right, that's fine. Managed to still save it. So here's also going to opt for going backwards, going through the rings, and here, if he lines this up perfectly, there should be exactly 20. And the idiot capture is right next to it. Perfect. So here you just notice that Elliot just also flies in. For this boss, there are two knights, basically. You and Elliot duelize with knights in order to take on the main antagonist of the game. And the point of this is that Wiseman has 4 laps, and during these 4 phases, he is just going to be throwing stuff at you. So first phase is fireballs. He tracks your location, tries to snipe you, and in order to do any damage towards him, you have to wait for both knights to grab the force field, and afterwards you just drill. Alright, here comes the critical part of this. In the HD version, you have to have some sort of meter in order to get through the tornado. So there we go, managed to save enough, and clean Wiseman. Alright, GG's. So run ends on Fade to White, and ultimately this is a really phenomenal run. This should be like 23-05 maybe. 23-04. Alright. What a great run. Like, ultimately, Lakers or Recoil's done such phenomenal things in terms of developing strats and pushing boundaries for this game on their free time, and it is insane how fast that they've become at this game. What was I gonna say? Okay, so another thing is that, well, first off, go check him out on twitch.tv/LikeKR09. One of the best, if not currently the best, Nights into Dreams HD runner, I would argue. Another thing is that, well, currently the community is working on a massive project, and that massive project is the work of an auto splitter. And in doing so, we can opt out for some issues that the runners may have in terms of load consistency or whatnot, and it makes the run probably a lot easier to get into, I would argue. So that's one thing that the community's been brewing. But the community, as of late, ever since like 2020, like late 2020 and then early 2021, has been destroying it in terms of speedrun. I can't say much more. It's ultimately a really great community, and I hope that you check it out. So thank you very much for having me on, and yeah, all right, thank you.